Just on the assurances, earlier you said after receiving assurances from Israel that they're not violating humanitarian law, the U.S. so far has not seen proof of that. I'm wondering what these assurances look like because, we have all seen proof from the International Court of Justice, from the United Nations, and from footage, especially the past few weeks, over and over again of Israel seemingly targeting civilians, hospitals, churches, footage even yesterday showing Israeli forces seeming to execute unarmed Palestinians waving white flags. They're blocking aid to the point that the U.S. is trying to build a pier to deliver aid as if Israel is a belligerent and not an ally. So with all of this, how is Israel not violating humanitarian law?
So let me ask you something. Is there a reasonable definition of genocide that would include what happened in Bosnia or to the Rohingya and at the same time exclude what is happening in Gaza?
So, Saeed, I was wondering if you have a reaction to the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, just today on Israel, saying that that Israel must ensure urgent humanitarian assistance, and that famine has already set in Gaza.
So that order, to my understanding, was just issued in the last hour. Our team is reviewing it right now, so I don't have a detailed reaction to the full text of the order. It's something we want to review before we give that reaction. But as a general proposition, of course, increasing humanitarian assistance to Gaza is something that we support and something that we have urged Israel to help facilitate. So that general conclusion is very much something we agree with, but as it pertains to the exact text of the order, I want to give the team time here to look through it before I respond in detail.
Just one more for me. I know you just said that you want time to review it.
You also said that you disagree with the position itself, that you don't approve having that position in the United Nations.
But is it the word binding again? But the International Court of Justice, is it the view of the United States that Israel must comply with this, that it must do more?
Again, having not even reviewed the order myself and knowing that there's a team reviewing, I don't want to respond until we've had a chance to do that.
But I mean, just to follow up on that, can you say that in principle,
In principle, of course, we support the work of the ICJ, but I don't know if this. I just haven't reviewed the exact text to know how it applies in this instance. So I'm obviously loath to comment on it for that reason.
I see. Okay.
I want to go back to the issue of the Albanese report yesterday, and you said that she made some anti-Semitic statements and so on in the past. Can you share those statements with us?
I can. I didn't actually think this was a controversial statement. She made a remark at one point referring to the Jewish lobby controlling America, and in fact expressed regret for that mark afterwards. So that's what I was referring to.
But I think the term that she was accused for is when she used the term Shoah for Nakba, which is exactly
the word. Hold on. I'm not referring to anyone else's comments,
right.
And that's not what I was referring to.
That's what Now I understand, but the comment that she made, she said Shoah is Nakba in Arabic, which is exactly what it is.
Saeed,
it's a catastrophe.
Saeed, I'm not even familiar with the comment you're referring to, and that's not what I was referring to in my remarks.
Okay, so you also said that you disagree with the position itself, that you don't approve having that position in the United Nations. Why not?
We have been very clear that we do not believe genocide has taken place. We do not believe that's an appropriate term or a constructive one to use in this instance.
So let me ask you something. Is there a reasonable definition of genocide that would include what happened in Bosnia or to the Rohingya and at the same time exclude what is happening in Gaza?
So, Saeed, the definition of genocide is one that is well well-founded under international humanitarian law.
Right.
And if you look at the position that the department's legal advisors laid out before the ICJ, they do go through this chapter and verse. I'm not going to repeat all of it here from the podium. I obviously don't have the filing with me, but you can look where we do go through exactly why we don't believe genocide is an appropriate term to use in this case.
Okay. Although many countries in the world now are more and more using the term. In fact, France said that they would probably try the soldiers that served in this war for war crimes if they are involved. But
a couple of weeks ago, I asked you about repeated instances of Israeli soldiers rifling through and parading women's underwear, especially in light of ongoing allegations of sexual abuse against Israeli soldiers and allegations that they tortured and sexually abused UNRWA staffers in order to coerce false confessions. I'm wondering, since then we've heard troubling details of these allegations, including soldiers sticking electrified rods up people's anuses. We've continued to see not single-digit, but now piles of photos and videos of soldiers parading through women's underwear. So I'm wondering, what are the updates on those instances we talked about a few weeks ago, and what is the update now that this keeps seemingly happening unabated?
So I would say whenever we see these reports, we make clear to the Israeli government what we make clear publicly, which is that they need to be investigated, and if appropriate, there needs to be accountability. And I would refer you to a comment that the IDF Advocate General, Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, who I believe is the chief investigator for the IDF, said several weeks ago in a letter when she wrote and said that she had encountered actions by IDF soldiers that do not meet IDF values, that deviate from orders and disciplinary boundaries, and have crossed the criminal threshold, causing strategic damage to Israel in the international area. These acts and statements on part of individuals who do represent the collective have no place in the IDF. And you saw the chief of staff of the IDF, Herzi Halevi, say, we must be careful not to use force where it is not required, to distinguish between a terrorist and who is not to take anything that is not ours, a souvenir or weapons, and not to film revenge videos. So the IDF has made very clear itself, this is in the United States speaking, that they have seen inappropriate actions take place by IDF soldiers, and they need to be investigated, and those responsible need to be held accountable, and we would very much agree with that.
And then on the sexual abuse allegations, any sort of update on?
I don't have any update on those.
Okay.
On those, what I understand are ongoing investigations.
And then just on the assurances, earlier you said after receiving assurances from Israel that they're not violating humanitarian law, the U.S. so far has not seen proof of that. I'm wondering what these assurances look like, because we have all seen proof from the International Court of Justice, from the United Nations, and from footage, especially the past few weeks, over and over again, of Israel seemingly targeting civilians, hospitals, churches. Footage even yesterday showing Israeli forces seeming to execute unarmed Palestinians waving white flags. They're blocking aid to the point that the U.S. is trying to build a pier to deliver aid as if Israel is a belligerent and not an ally. So with all this, how is Israel not violating humanitarian law? Are these assurances just Israel saying that they promised they're not, and they evidently continue to do so?
I spoke to this extensively on Monday and Tuesday, and I would encourage you to check the transcript. I'll do a little bit of it again, but I think I will spare everyone else here 15 or 20 minutes of me in vain on the national security memo again. But what I will say is we received assurances from the government of Israel that are consistent with the requirements of the national security memo. Now, but I think to your underlying question, we look at those assurances through a lens of the ongoing processes that we have to answer this very question. And we do have processes going on examining specific incidents in the conduct of the campaign, and those processes are ongoing. They've not reached a final determination at this point.
Thank you, Matt. I'm wondering if you have any reaction and comments about Hamas leader visit to Iran and what he said about Israel. He said that Israel is losing the international community support, and he took the UN security resolution as an evidence that Israel is losing support. Do you have any reaction and comment on that?
So I'm not going to respond broadly to something that a leader of Hamas said, but I would say with respect to the UN Security Council resolution, we've made very clear our position on that resolution, which is we think it is consistent with our longstanding position. It is consistent with our longstanding position that there ought to be a ceasefire linked to the release of hostages, and that's what we have believed Israel's position to be as well.
And do you have any sense that Israel is losing the international community support because they are not following the UN Security Council resolution?
Look, I think if you look around the world, there are a number of countries who have not supported Israel's action from the beginning. I think that's been pretty clear and not at all in dispute. And then there have been countries like the United States that have backed Israel's right to defend itself, while at times disagreeing with certain ways they went about this campaign, and calling on them to do more to both protect civilians and deliver increase the delivery of humanitarian assistance to those civilians.